Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I'm trying out the new camera. It's questioning and answer. Welcome to JJ's PC Builds. This is question and answer day. So I figured I'd drop a live stream on y'all. Make sure it's still working, just to let you know. That's the reason why I'm dropping a live stream on y'all. So if you get in here, I'm gonna be here for a little while. Wait for y'all to jump in. And I got my drinks and snacks going on. So just let you know we got it all going on. I'm gonna drop something in the community page to let y'all know that I went live here on the channel. So let me go ahead and do that real quick while y'all are waiting on, while I'm waiting on y'all to jump in. Alrighty, let's see what we can cook up. Alrighty, we are live. So what we'll do is I'm going to type in I'm live right now on the channel. Please join in. Thank you, everyone. And a smiley face. There we go. We put that out there for you, let you know, so that way you all can see I got it going on. Okay, people are wondering, yes, I do vape. Okay, I'm going to get this out in the open right now. Yes, I do. Okay, so it's the curve of 35-year-old habit I used to have. So I got to do what I got to do. And yes, it helps, just to let you know. So I've been free of it for 2 years. This is helping. It's been keeping me free for 2 years. But it's not an advertisement to do that. So if you've never started, don't start now. Just a for say. And let's see where we're going to go with this. Okay, today I'm kind of wanting to talk about the fact of, let's start with AMD. Let's start with AMD. American-made devices. That's what I would have named AMD. American-made devices. So AMD, if you heard that, that would have been really cute to do that. Okay. AMD seems like they got some things that are sitting in the works. Just to for say, it looks like they got some processors in the works. They got some video cards maybe in the works. They got many things going on in the works. But those are just leaks. They haven't concreted anything. What I'm waiting to see if they're going to come out with the 5600X3D. That's what I was waiting to see, if they were going to come out with the 5600X3D. As far as that's going on, and hello everybody that just came in the door, welcome to the channel. Welcome to JJ's PC Builds. From what I was seeing with the 5600X3D, was it had some benefits and it had some down benefits. The good benefits is a DDR4. My opinion on, I'll wait for you to come up with that. Gurpreet, welcome to the channel. Good to see you here. I'm sure you got a question in your mind and you want to tell me, so I'll wait for your answer there. But you know, I'm still considering the the Gen 5 series. The not the DDR5 series is not a series I really want to mess with right now, because it's still bugged. It's still got a lot of things going on with it. It's still got tons of stuff. That's the reason why I stayed with the DDR4 series. Because in DDR4, if they bring out that AMD brings out that new processor, it definitely will be quite of a good thing to have an X3D, another one. Even though that they got the 5800 X3D, I'd like to see the 5600 X3D. I like to see them do a couple X3Ds for AM4 series. I really do. Because that would be, beneficial to everybody that's mainly still on the AM4 series, or the gen, or they're on the, what is it, 12th gen and below, from the 6th to the 12th gen, and Intel, but basically we're just talking about AMD right now. So the way it looks like with the X3D, the 5600, it gives a little bit of a boost, like from the 56 to the 5800, and a little bit above the 5800 series. Okay, now I'm not going to say it's going to outdo the 5800 X3D series or the 5800X. It might outdo the 5800X, but it might run equal with the 5800 X3D. So, but for a lower price, they can't go up much higher on the 5600X, because 5600X is what, like a couple $100 as it is, and you got the 5800 X3D, which is at what, $275, $280. For the processor. I figured the 5600 X3D, they might throw it in between the two. They might say, well, hell, let me do it for like $160, $150. Let me make a quick buck. And that's what these companies do to make fast cash. So they throw out an okay processor, but it's still going to have 96 megs of L3 cache on it. It's still going to have that X3D bump, and that's the good thing, and it's not going to be to where it bumps up above, like 4.7 gigahertz and the frequency to 4.8 or something like that. It might tornado up to about 4.5, 4.6 gigahertz on the frequency. So it might hit where the RX, the Ryzen 7, 5700X might hit. It might hit up to those parameters between 4.6 gigahertz to 4.7, 4.75 gigahertz. So when it comes to that, and if they get that processor that bumps up between 4.4 and 4.7, it's good price to performance, and it's below $200. It's well worth it. It is well worth it, because it'll plug into basically any DDR4 motherboard. The B550, the B570, or maybe even the B450 it might plug into. You might get lucky and it plugs into the B450 motherboard series. Asus has got a good series between the the B450 and the B550. That's the only real motherboards I've seen that'll run these processors really well is between the B450 and the B550. Now, I do have the Asus Strix B550A in this computer, and I'm running it right now, but it still runs. That's the whole thing. It get closer. It still runs. Okay. Now the thing is with the B450 motherboard I had, and it had the Ryzen 5 5600G, it still runs like a monster. It still runs well. So, I'm thinking the 5000 series is where you want to be when it comes to, you still want a little bit more horsepower if you want to use like RTX 4070, an nvidia RTX 4070, which I have in my computer, and I'm running it right now with the motherboard in a 5700X. But I'd rather try that 5600 X3D in this motherboard. It's going to be compatible. See, a lot of things everybody says, and I want y'all to understand this, a lot of things everybody says is, well, buy your processor first and then figure out what kind of motherboard you want. No. If you get a motherboard that is compatible with most of all the series lines of processors that are for the AM4, then basically you really only need one motherboard. So you get one motherboard that does a wide line of all the processors that you can plug in to that motherboard. You won't need to worry about, switching motherboards and this and that. You got one motherboard that'll run a series run of processors. Like I do here, I got this B550, I got that B450, but I'll tell you what, they will run almost the whole line of AM4 series processors. They will run almost all the AM4 series processors. That's a good thing. The backside, what's your opinion about the back side cable? Oh, I know what you mean. Yeah, I know what you mean right there. You gotta look at it like functionality. Gurpreet, you gotta look at it as functionality. Basically, how many motherboards were gonna actually function with that case? How many? They don't have many that have the backside connectors. The motherboards, they don't have many motherboards with backside connectors, and they don't have many cases with backside connector, support. So you're kind of limited on your choice of what kind of case you're going to get, and believe me, that's kind of, that's something, the place I really don't want to be at, is because you got restricted functionality. So basically, you only got a certain amount of cases, you only got a certain amount of motherboards. But it is a good idea, believe it or not, it is a good idea to have all the connectors onto the back. But what happens if you got a bunch of connectors back there, and this is the thing, something nobody thinks about. When you got a bunch of connectors, bunch of wires and everything else, and you go to slide the case on, and you kind of bend the pins, or you kind of break off pins, moving that back side of the case off. That's kind of something to think about too. What kind of case are you going to use that gives you enough room for all that wiring? I mean, or what kind of wiring accessibility is it going to give? Or is the motherboard just going to plug directly into the case and it's pre-wired and it's pre-configured? I mean, it's kind of hard to say, but it's a good idea, but also too, in the long run, when you want to take your case and you want to put a new motherboard in it, or you want to switch to something better with the same case you got, you're kind of left with a little bit of functionality problem, and trust me, that's the functionality I really don't want to be at right now. My opinion, I don't think it's worth it. I mean, I really don't. I mean, it's a good idea, but it's not worth it if you don't have a long line of them. And that's the problem they're having right now is they only got a certain amount of cases and they only got a certain amount of motherboards, that have that backside connections. I mean, I like the idea of the way they did, what was it, EVGA did their case. I think they hid the wiring. I think it was that was more or less like the persona they were trying to go with. But the way EVGA, I think it was EVGA, you might quote me if I'm wrong on it. You can quote me on that. But I think it was EVGA when they did the godlike board, I think. I think that's what it was. To where they hid all the wires and stuff, all the connectors behind a clip-on piece on the motherboard. So you couldn't see anything. So that I would consider, if you still got plugins on the front of your motherboard, you still got options. But when you go to the back side, you're kind of limited with your options. Especially if you bought a case, and you bought a modular power supply, Oh, okay. Okay. I got you. I got you. I got you. Thank you, Thanos. Yeah, but like the whole point of this is what the point of the whole point of getting the connectors on the back is trying to hide them from the front. Now they're doing the graphics card like that. I think it's Asus doing that. They're doing the graphics card like that. They're doing the motherboard like that. But functionality, you have to look at, what if you want to change your graphics card? What if you want to change your graphics card to a newer style graphics cards? Are they going to have a long line of graphics cards? Are they going to have a long line of motherboards? Are they going to have a long line of cases? Right now, it's something new, but right now they don't have enough of it. So, if you don't have enough of something, everybody's not going to buy it. They're going to look at it, say it's a good idea, but right now you don't have enough. So build it up and then come back to me with that. Come back to me with what you're trying to sell. But they don't have enough built up. Stock wise, they really don't have enough built up. Especially specialty cases. Your computer cases really don't have much option with that. I'm sorry to say it, but you really don't have much option. So if you want to do something like that, and you're going to make that a 5-year computer for yourself, then yeah, I can understand that. But what's the functionality of the computer? What's it going to do for you? Does it have enough VRM support? Power support? Because these nvidia RTX cards, these 40 series cards. Now with this one that I got here, the 4070 is drawing almost 200 watts out of the PCIe slot, that's in front of the card, and also too with it's the PCIe in the back of the card, and it's the power connector that's on the front that's drawing about 150, 160 watts. Now the motherboard itself, it's drawing off about almost 150 to 200 watts. I couldn't believe it when I seen it, when I put it on the, for HW info and all that, and I looked at all the specs, and, I'm sitting there running the card hard. I was like, oh my God, you gotta be kidding me, Yeah, true. Yeah, it does cost as much as a kidney. But, I looked at it like this. I really did. I looked at it like this. They got the new 4060 that's going to be coming out on the 29th. But the 28th, reviewers are going to be reviewing those cards. That's like, saying you're going to want $300 for that card, right? Now, hear me out on this. All the cards have the same functionality. They all do the same. They all have the same DLSS3 and blah, 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 and so on. So they all have the same functionality, right? So what are you just paying for the cores? Are you paying? What are you paying for? The cores or what? You're not. What are you paying for? You're not paying for the extras. The extras are already given in on all the same cards from the 4090 all the way down. So I looked at it this way. I'm just paying for the cores. So that's the reason why I got the RTX 4070, because it had 5,888 cores. So I got that, and the functionality, it definitely runs a lot faster than the RTX 4060 and the 4060 Ti. So 4070 is a nice sweet spot for $599. If you wait about maybe 6 months, they'll bring down the price about $150. Guess what? 4070 is going to be worth it to you in the long run. But you got to look at it another side too with the 4070. What if nvidia decides to not make anymore? But you can get drivers and updates and all that for it. But what if nvidia decides to take and pull the plug on the 4070? That means there's only going to be a selected few that have the 4070 because they bought it. So that's something to think about too. Yeah, I paid $599 for, what is it, $599 for it, yeah. But now the performance, I can't complain. I cannot complain whatsoever about that. I mean, the 4060, I can see it's a good entry card. It's more or less like a 4050. I would say that would be more or less like a 4050 because the amount of cores that it has, But it can still stay at a 4060 because if you look at the RX 580, and that's only got what, 2,000 cores, 2,500, almost 3,000 cores, and that's the RX 580 from ages ago. Or the 3060. Why couldn't they have thought about like the 3060 and made the 4060 with the 192-bit bus? Why couldn't they have put 12 gigabytes of VRAM on the 4060? Why did they have to make it an 8 gigabyte card? I mean, it doesn't make sense. I wanted to buy an nvidia for my second 2D and 3D animation, but their cost sucks. I agree with that. I do agree with that. That's why I'm still using my old GTX 1070. Well, I don't blame you. I'd do the same thing too, Or you could do one better, a little trick to the trade. You can get yourself another used GTX 1070, turn around, excuse me, get a motherboard that shares the PCIe X16 slots, two of the same slots, X16, which will bring it down to X8, and I think you can do it in SLI mode, if I remember right. You can do it in SLI mode, and that way you can get double the amount and pay half the price. You can do it that way too. SLI is not dead, okay? Or Crossfire. Crossfire or SLI is not dead. It's just they don't use it anymore because, the little extra power that the card will be using, but it's not much. Believe it or not, it's not much. Okay? So use the same power supply. You probably got an 850 to 1,000 watt power supply. You can plug in two cards, turn it SLI, and just go that way. If you don't want to pay the big old price of these 40 series cards, I wouldn't blame you. A lot of people are telling me they're waiting to the 50 series to see what the 50 series is about because they don't feel that the 40 series is actually there. Nobody's paying money for the 40 series cards. Maybe the 4090 they are, but that's if you want to take a risk and catch fire with the 4090. But this 4070 has the 8-pin connector. And it's OC. It's an overclock model from Asus. I mean, to have the overclock mode, to have a pin connector, you know, um, the one bad thing that I think that these cards are is that they only got one HDMI port. They need two HDMI ports, not three display ports. They got three display ports. Who the hell is going to use a display port? I got to, buy an adapter just to plug in, use the display ports for my second monitor. It doesn't make sense to me. I mean, they should have had two HDMI and two display ports. That would have made more sense, but no, they got one HDMI and three display ports. And when you use these adapters, it clocks it down to the HDMI, so you're really not gaining anything by having a display port in your computer if you're using HDMI. Makes no sense to me. No sense whatsoever. But as far as, with your computer, if you love the 1070, I would stick with it for right now. I mean, I would think about investing in another 1070 and maybe a motherboard that'll go to SLI, and connect the two together and have yourself one big beefy, kind of computer. Because you figure, well, let's do this. Let's just go ahead and just clock it up to where we need to be, and let's just have a look and a gander at what's going on. So what we're going to do, well, let's see if I got this right. We'll do this. We'll switch over to the action screen. Here we go. There we go. So what we'll do is this. We'll look on, let's say we'll go to eBay. Let's say we go to eBay and we'll go right here. We'll look up graphics cards, just to say, you go look up the GTX 1070, I mean, can you beat that? I mean, really, can you really beat that? Look, I mean, you figure you can get it for $100 to $130, the GTX 1070s, and have two of them, or have a computer that had a motherboard that can hold three. Oh, you wanted to buy the 4080, but the problem was the 4080 and the 4090 has the connector burning issue. Well, that's the reason why I went to the 4070. That's the reason why I didn't go to the 4080. Was because I went to the 4070. They don't have that connector. They have the standard connector that you normally use with your 30 series graphics cards or your 20 series. They plug right into your power supply, the one that you got running for your 1070 or your 1080. I mean, look at it that way. I mean, if you got, the 4070 doesn't seem like it's a bad card. It really don't. If you're looking for the horsepower and stuff like that, I do agree with you that they should have made the 4080 with two of those connectors or three of those 8-pin connectors instead of going that 16-pin connector crap. I do agree with that, but I won't ever run those. I will never run those because of the simple fact that, they do all that. But if you can get a tech to put on that card, if let's say you got a 4080, this is what you can do as an option. If you can get a tech to put on two 8-pin connectors or three 8-pin connectors to replace that 16-pin crap, to take that 16-pin crap out on a 4080 and put like three 8-pin connectors on there, or two 8-pin connectors, and you'll still run safe. I mean, you can do that too. I mean, they are modifiable. Okay, all graphics cards are modifiable. Just like they had on the, what was it? They had the other day. They had a technician turn around. He modified the amount of VRAM. He took a card from 8 gigabytes to 16 gigabytes of VRAM, and swapped up the bus. I guess went from a 128-bit bus to a 256-bit bus. Switched up the bus, and switched up the memory on there, and look for a compatible BIOS. So got the card running and runs like a champ. So truthfully, if what you're paying for is you're just paying for the amount of VRAM, and you're not paying for anything else but just the amount of VRAM. Now they just had on the other day, you can get 8 gigabytes of RAM, regular RAM, for like $20-$30. Now the question is why can't nvidia take all of the newest cards and bump them up to 12, at least minimal 12 gigabytes of VRAM, instead of putting out this 8 gigabytes crap, and put out the same price for 12 gigabytes of VRAM on these newer 4060 cards? If they do that, that would be a gem. Yeah, that is true. That is true. They kind of they're kind of not, they're not looking at the, what the customer wants. They're looking at what they want. But what really flying to me is that they're flying over to the AI series. They're just doing everything AI now. But when it comes to gaming, and you can probably agree or disagree with me on this, when it comes to the gaming, what they're doing with the gamers, they're not doing anything with the gamers. They're going right up to this AI GPT stuff. That's where they're making their money right now. So they're not going to do anything special for gamers. Now, and it's going to be quite a while before they do anything special for gamers. So gamers got to do what they got to do to make it right for them, and that's where your reviewers come in about. Just to let you know, this is where your reviewers come in about, and they do this every day. They do this every day, 7 days a week. I do this every day, 7 days a week, and I'm gonna tell you that. But when it comes to these big companies right now, they're not your friend. Okay, they're not going to do anything for you. We realize that. I've been going 8-9 months on this channel. You think one of them knocked on my door? Hell no. Not one of them knocked on my door and asked me to, if they want to sponsor me or something. They don't care. I do agree with you. If they don't care about the reviewers, they're not going to care about the consumer. You got to remember, everything trickles downhill. So when it comes to, you're up and about down to the bottom, customer always gets the blind shaft of the wrong end when it comes to what these companies do. Okay? That's the reason why, I go out there and I look on the net every single day looking for deals and steals and, everything you can look for when it comes to computer parts. Not a lot of people are moving up from the 10 series to the 20 series. They're not moving up from the 10 series to the 20 series to the 30 series to the 40 series. They're not moving up at all. It's like DDR4. Nobody's really transferring over from DDR4 to DDR5. I wonder why. The DDR5 series seem to be really having a bad time about it. Hey Caesar, what's up? Welcome back. Good to see you, good to see you, good to see you. But it comes to, if you want to avoid the burning issues with the connectors, there's a way around that. I think there's a way around that. But if you notice, the new, they did there's a lot of reviewers did a review and they said, well, you put this yellow connector into the power supply, it'll keep your video card from burning. Okay, I want y'all to hear this. This is so funny. And I'm gonna state this is just too funny. Too funny for me. Okay? Why would you get up on the air and tell everybody buy this new modular connector when you're only showing them plugging it into the power supply, showing this yellow connector on the power supply? Where in the hell do you think the GPUs are burning at? Oh, they're not burning at the power supply. They're burning right at the connector on the GPU. Where's that connector? Where's the yellow part of that connector? Not one of them showed that connector. Plugging it into the GPU and showing the stiffness on the GPU. Not one of them did that. And you know what? That right there, that was nothing but a marketing ploy. Okay, that was nothing to do, it had nothing to do with your 4080 or your 4090 burning up. They did nothing to, in my mind, and they can call me out on it, I don't care. They can call me out on it. But when I watched their videos, the thing I didn't see was them plugging it into the GPU. I didn't see the yellow connectors for the GPU. I seen it for the power supply, and that's all they showed. But I didn't see one thing plugging into the GPU. Okay, where's that at? Y'all can get up on me about that, but I'm going to tell you, I did not see one damn thing about it. Not one. I don't know if y'all go watch those other reviewers. They're sitting there showing you they're plugging it into the power supply. A yellow connector going into the power supply. That's not where the problem was. The problem was at the GPU itself. It's still burning, even with those L bracket connectors. It's still burning up, and they still can't get it. That's because those cards are drawing more power from that end than anything. And those little sense wires, they don't make no damn sense at all. Those sense wires make no sense at all. I mean, why would you put a ground sense wire to regulate the flow going from your power supply to your GPU? Your power supply is already regulated, and your power supply regulates the amount of power that comes and goes through each wire as it is. Why would you want to connect your power supply and regulate that right from the GPU? Then you're starving your motherboard. Makes no sense. For rendering on the 7900 XT, well, it does have the AV1 encoding and decoding, but I've heard a lot of bad things about it. I heard a lot of people not even recommending going to the 7900 XT. They would rather stay with nvidia. They would rather stay with nvidia when it comes to rendering and decoding and encoding and so on. Is because nvidia has better drivers and they have better programs for rendering than AMD does. What AMD has the advantage for them is when it comes to gaming. Okay? But when it comes to rendering and everything else, nvidia is more of your choice than AMD is, truthfully. In my opinion, I've already tried rendering with AMD. It's not as good as NVIDIA. I can tell you that right now. It's not. I have AMD over there in the corner, but I'm on NVIDIA now, and I can see it's night and day. It's a lot better, and it's a lot more efficient than AMD. When it comes to rendering, you know, for like creator work and stuff like that, you know, that kind of rendering. Or if you're doing Blender and stuff like that, that's more or less going to be over there up on your NVIDIA side. That's not going to be so much on AMD's side. Now, if AMD come out with something better to where their cores operate better, then I'd see that as a difference. Hey, George, how's it going? Good to see you. Good to see you. Welcome. Welcome. I figured, well, I figured I'd do a live video. Okay? I haven't done one in a while, so I figured I'd do a live video for today. So I'm trying out this camera right here, this Remali, you know, this 4K camera. Hopefully y'all don't see me like I'm fuzzy and everything else. You know, that's the whole thing. I want y'all to make sure, you know, you can see me very well. So I hope y'all can see me very well. Hopefully the audio's good. I got that noise canceling audio. I got, you know, this motherboard is a gem. This Asus motherboard, this Asus Strix B550A motherboard is a champ. I'm going to tell you all that. First off, it's a champ. Okay, well, if Thanos, if you're only using Blender, you know, you're best off to stay. And y'all can chime in on this, but I can tell you this: nvidia is going to be a lot better for your 3D and 2D animations, you know, for Blender than AMD would, because they still got a little bit of issues with Blender on AMD. I know I did when I was messing around with Blender on AMD. You know, I was doing let's say, you know, I was kind of doing rendering work for making certain items to go on Second Life, and the rendering on AMD was really bad. It wasn't that great for me. I don't know about everybody else, but it wasn't that great for me. Awesome, awesome. Thank you, Thanos. Thank you for letting me know that. I wanted to make sure it was really good. This camera only cost $100. I was lucky I got the camera for $100. I mean, I can't beat a 4K camera. Unless y'all wanted me to use my older camera. That is like a 1080p monster. It's nothing but 1080p. I'd rather use this one because it looks like it looks a lot better for y'all to see. But for animations, you're best off, and I'm going to be honest with you, just go with NVIDIA, stay with it, and that's the best way to go. Now, I can't say what this new RTX 4060 is going to do for $300. I'm already hearing that, you know, when it comes out, that it's going to have a price reduction within the first week. You know, down to like 270, 260. But it could be good for rendering too, but something tells me it's going to be choppy for rendering because it doesn't have enough cores to actually do much with. You know, it might not have enough compute units, you know, and it might not have enough what you really are going to look for. But it might not. It's kind of like NVIDIA's throwing up their GPUs for a cash grab. So basically they're throwing whatever they want up in the air and hopefully everybody grabs it. That's what they're kind of thinking right now. So, I don't know. I really don't know. But we're going to have to wait and see what they're really going to have for this RTX 4060. It's only going to be 8 gigabytes though. You know, the RTX 4080 or the 4060 Ti, in July they're going to have the 16 gigabyte version coming out in July. So y'all might want to wait for July to see what the 4060 Ti comes out at. But I can tell you what the price range is going to be. It's going to look like it's going to be about $500. So yeah. Okay, well, this is how you're going to do it. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to do a little bit of a comparison for you. Okay, I'm going to take and set this up really quick so that way you can see. Let's see, you want to do the 79, the RX 7900. Okay, XT specs, and you want to do the RTX 4080 specs. Okay, so what I'm doing here is I'm setting up the screen for this for you. So that way we can see ourselves. Let's see. And let's see. Okay. I'm going to take you back. I'm going to take you back to the action screen. I'm going to take you back to the action screen. So, here we go. Okay. Now, let's fold this in a little bit, move this over a little bit so that way you can see it on both. Hopefully a little bit more, and a little bit more, a little bit more. We'll get it there. Just give me a minute. Okay, there we go. Okay, now I want you to see this. This is the 79, watch my cursor, this is the 7900 XT right here. And this is the GeForce RTX 4080. Now, the core count, look at the core count between the two. Okay, you got, on the 7900 XT, you got 5,376 cores, but on the 4080, you got 9,728 cores. Now, that's something to start thinking about. And the TMUs is 336 on the 7900 XT, but the 4080 has 304 TMUs. Okay, now the TMUs and the ROPs on the 4080 are lower than they are the 7900 XT. But moving down the road, where does it line up? Okay, where does it actually line up? 16% higher. Okay, 16% higher. This is where it floats. 4080 is 16% higher than the 7900 XT. You get more cores. You get probably a bigger bit bus. Well, actually, no. That's what surprises me. The bus is quite different. There's a 256 bus on one, 320 bit on the other. Okay, the 7900 XT has a bandwidth of 800 gigabits per second, and the bandwidth on the 4080 is approximately 716. Not much of a difference. Not really that much of a difference between the two. Except for the 7900 XT has 20 gigabytes of VRAM, and the 4080 has 16 gigabytes. Okay, so looking on down the road, what else do they have? Frequency-wise, base clocks. Okay, the 4080 has a higher base clock. It has a higher game clock. It has a better memory clock, because you got 22.4 effective and you got 20 over here. You want to know the difference between the two? Truthfully, the difference between the two? Oh hell, that's gonna be like night and day. Okay, so you look at it this way: one side, you got AMD side, they got higher benefits on certain things. On the nvidia side, they got higher clocks. They got certain benefits on the other side. Okay, so you're looking at both, and you're trying to weigh them, and how much weighing them and looking at the price of them. I mean, it's gonna be like, okay, you want to look at the price. I mean, you got the 7900 XT at $899, and then you got the 4080 at $1,200. So you got $800 on one side and $400 more on NVIDIA's side. Okay, but NVIDIA has their package of DLSS 3 and so on and blah, blah, blah. Okay. That's where I drew the line, because it was such a big gap difference. Such a big gap difference on the RTX 40 series between the RTX 4070 and the RTX 4080. Okay, there's such a big gap difference. But when it comes to performance, I mean, I'm not getting bad performance on my 4070. I think that was a better choice I made, truthfully. The 4070 I got comes with the 5-year warranty. Comes with 2 year warranty with the site I've ordered it from, and 3 years from the factory. So I got 5-year warranty. I can't beat that for a stick for $600. Now, when it comes to if you want to pay $900 for a 7900 XT, that's up to you. I mean, that's $300 more, but you're getting 8 more gigs of VRAM. It's something to think about too. Oh, you're from India? Well, hello from India. I'm over here in the United States, around here in California, just to let you know. Poochu, welcome to JJ's PC Builds. Just to let you know that too. Glad you're here. I am really glad you're here. Okay. Now, if you're looking at the difference price to performance wise, yeah, you're best off to go with the 7900 XT. Because it's $900 compared to $1,200. $300 difference. Okay, $300 difference. Me, on the other hand, I wouldn't have gone that far and got either one of those cards. For the simple fact, they're good to have, but they're not needed in the facts. So they're the kind of cards that's not needed right now. Well, how expensive are they in India? Are they more than the USA? Because I thought they were expensive here. That's the thing. I thought they were really too expensive here. I thought that NVIDIA should have had the 4080 down to at least $999 to make it worth something. And AMD on the RX series, the 7000 series, they should have had the 7900 XT. Well, they should have had it about the same price as the 4070. $600. That's just, be honest with you, they should have had it at $600 for the 7900 XT. Now the 7900 XTX should have been like $799. That would have been worth something to everybody. Price to performance, that's well worth it to somebody that wants to buy it. But as far as the prices now, you're looking at your graphics cards, you're not getting price to performance. You're getting performance to price, basically. So that's basically what you're paying for. You're getting more price and then less performance. So in my opinion, you would have been better off. You would have been better off to get something a little bit cheaper. You'd have been better off to get something a little bit cheaper. Wow. Well, like I said, I mean, you can go the 4070 Ti, right? That's still, I still think in my mind that I got the intermediate in between card between the lower side and the higher side. The 4070 cuts it right down the middle. It's a unique card that cuts the high side and the low side. Okay? Cuts off from the low side and cuts off from the high side. It's right in the middle. As far as performance and everything else, it's just right in the middle. Okay, yeah, you can get a 6950, RX 6950 XT for a little bit cheaper. If you wanted to, get yourself a good, decent graphics card, 6950 XT would be a good one from AMD. But that's last gens. That's 6000 series. And then you're up to 7000 series. Are you willing to stick with a 6000 series cards for 5 years compared to the 7000 series 5 years? Ask yourself that question. Are you willing to stay with a 30 series card for the next 5 years? Or are you willing to stay with the 40 series cards for the next 5 years? What are you willing to pay for it? Are you willing to pay a decent price or a low price or an affordable price? You got to look at what you can afford. Okay? If you can afford $600, then, I mean, some people say, "Oh, get the 3080." Well, you can get the 3080, but the 3080 is not going to have the benefits of the 4070. It's definitely not going to have the benefits of the 4070. And then when that card goes outdated, the 4070 will keep rocking past that card, and when that, you'll have the 4070 a lot longer than you will the 3080 or the 3060 or the 3070 or the, on that kind of line, the 30 series you're not going to have much longer, because once they transfer up between the 40 and the 50 series, then you're going to start seeing the drop off between the 30, the 20, the 10 series, and so on. Those series are just going to drop off because they're almost sold out of them. That's the smartest thing to do. I would do that. But the reason why I got the 4070 was I was testing it. I wanted to see if it was better than integrated graphics. Oh my God, it's definitely better than integrated graphics. Okay. So yeah, if you're waiting for the price drop, I would wait for it. Just to be honest with you, I would wait for the price drop. If you're going to get a graphics card, wait until after the end of this year, see what's going to happen. See if they're going to come out with something better, because when it gets around Christmas time, they're going to be dropping prices like crazy. They did that last year, so they might do it this year. You never know. Let's kind of keep it like that. And if it's anything like last year, and they can't sell these cards, and right now they're not selling these cards. These cards are just sitting on shelves. It's up to you. If you want to buy that card, that's up to you. I mean, look at the price. I mean, you're looking at between a 4070 to a 4080. You're going from $600 to $1,200. $600 to $1,200 is a $600 gap. Okay, that's how you have to look at it. And you look at it, if you got the 4070 Ti, then you're looking at what? Price gap of $300? You got a price gap between $200 and $300 there. So, and then if you look at the 4060 Ti, okay, look at the price gap between that. Well, there's what, a $300 price difference? $200 price difference, but you get almost 30% more performance from the 4070 than you do the 4060 Ti. And when they come out in July with the 4060 Ti, the 16 gigabytes, I hate to tell you this, and I hate to break the news to you. When it comes to that, the only thing they're adding in, nothing else special, is 8 gigabytes of VRAM. That's all they're adding in. There's no more performance gains whatsoever on the 4060 Ti 16 gigabytes. There's no performance gains. So, just to bring that to you. You want better performance in Blender? I can tell you the 40 series is the way to go. If you want better performance in Blender, you got a decent motherboard that can handle the 40 series, and But I still think the 4070 will handle well with Blender. I really do. I mean, I've tried it with Blender before, and it seems to do fine with me. I don't know about everybody else. I have my motherboard set up, to where it's everything's on autopilot. And when I went into the BIOS, I turned around, I put everything on autopilot, except for the curve, the PBO curve. I set it to a -15 on all cores. That way I keep the heat down. Undervolted it a little bit, but everything else is set on autopilot, except for the memory. Now, this is another thing. The memory, I kind of set that at 3200 megahertz with the Infinity Fabric set at 1600. I just locked it in. Locked the voltage in for the memory, and that solved that problem. Okay. Now, taking the Corsair RAM I have up to 3400 megahertz, it kind of got choppy, so 3200 is the baseline with this RAM I got here. But I got 64 gigabytes of CL16 RAM from Corsair, the LPX, the one everybody buys. Either you get the 32 or the 3600. But when you run the Zen 3 AM series, 5000 chips, they tell you don't try not to go over 3200 megahertz on the memory. You go over the 3200 megahertz on the memory, you can wind up having chop and everything else. That's a little big of an issue that's on with the AM4 series. They tell you don't go over the maximum 3200 megahertz. Now, I've already figured that out. Right deadline, 3200 megahertz. Infinity Fabric, 1600. Perfect. Nothing else to be done there. Everything else is on autopilot. Well, this cough is really getting to me today. But I'm using MSI Afterburner with the GPU. Runs really well. I can get the GPU to go up to 3 gigahertz. If you're wondering, I took the 4070 to 3045 megahertz. I clocked it out at the max of 3045 megahertz. If you're wondering how high it goes. Now the memory I did it on a plus 1400 on Afterburner. The CPU, the GPU clock, I did at a plus 225. So, recently upgraded my CPU, Ryzen 7900 non-X with Gigabyte B650 Gaming X with 32 gigabytes of RAM. Okay, well, how much did that cost you? Other than you spending about, what, $1,200? That's going to be the question, too. Did you get more performance out of the AM5 series than you did the AM4? Or you get more performance out of the AM4 than you do the AM5? Okay, now that's kind of been a big question to everybody. Are they getting more performance from the AM4 series than they are the AM5? That's pretty much the question. It's not a bad setup, believe it or not. It's not a bad setup, but I don't. It come in my thought and theory of this is this: those flat pins. Let me see if I got one here. Okay, I gotta make sure I wash this before I put this in the computer. Okay, see this right here? These flat pins right here. These will only handle a certain amount of heat. These pins here will only handle a certain amount of heat. This is just like the AM5 series. They only handle so much heat. Okay, but if they have the actual pins that stick out, the reason for the pins sticking out is because they're directly connected. There's no in-between connections. See, that's another problem that they have. You have a direct connected processor compared to one that has a little film over the top that can cause static interference. Okay? I would rather have the direct pins connected to the motherboard to get more performance than I would having pins like this. I'd rather not have these whatsoever. Truthfully, these right here are causing too much electrical magnetic interference right here over the flat side of the plates. Now, I've already tested this and seen the little bit of arcing that's over on in between the plates. You know, this was a long time ago. So, I'd rather have the direct pin connection because it goes directly to the socket and gives you more power to the processor, and it gives you more input and output to the processor. So, you know, with the non-pin boards, I really don't care for. You know. The RAM is 32 gigabytes, 6,000 megahertz, Lancer RGB, and PSU's NZXT C850 gold, 850 watt gold. Well, that's not bad. That's not bad at all. That's not bad at all. I mean, that's pretty good right there. Look, if you're running an NVMe drive, the new 4.0 X4s, okay, with that, and getting yourself up to 7,500, 8,000, 900,000 megahertz or megabytes in transfer, you know, from point A to point B, then you got a really good M.2, which they do have them. So if you got one of those plugged in and you got, you know, a decent cooler to keep the CPU cool, that you can overclock it, you know, I mean, you can't beat it. I upgraded after 10 years. My old PC was 4th gen 4570. i5 4570. 16 gigabytes of RAM, PSU, Corsair C650, 6 watt of gold. Okay, well, let me tell you what my old one was. Mine was the Dell Optiplex 780. It had the i5 processor. It had the Intel processor, i5 2400. That was 2nd gen. And it had a 233 watt PSU in it, and it had no graphics card whatsoever. I got it as is, and it had 8 gigabytes of DDR3 RAM. I still have that computer, and I still use it to today. Now it's got a DDR. It's got what did I put in it? It's got the GTX 730 with the 4 gigabyte card. It's got extended RAM, which is about 16 gigabytes of RAM. GT730 has 4 gigabytes. It has 2 extended hard drives, which it's got about maybe 8 terabytes of hard drive space. You know, just to say. And it's got, I was going to try that, that adapter for the NVMe card to see if I can adapt the NVMe card to the PCB to see if I can get it to run a little bit faster than running off of an SSD drive. I was thinking about that too. And it's got a thermal take. What is that? The TR2 430. That's a 430 watt power supply from Thermaltake. It's 10 years old. 10 years old. That thing is a monster. And it's the gold series too. So yeah, I mean, I got you on the old CPUs. I got one of them sitting right over, well, over there. So yeah, I got you on that old CPU kind of thing. But when I put this together, this system here, I started off with the B450 motherboard from Asus, the B450M-AII, and started off with that. Ran that for 8 months solid on integrated graphics. I did the creator work. I did every kind of work on AMD integrated graphics. So that's when I decided I wanted to get a discrete graphics card, and then I wanted to get a better motherboard, and then I wanted to get more RAM, better processor, and total cost $1,000. So I upgraded because my old PC was unable to edit my animation in 4K resolution. Okay. So coming to that, you need something that's going to get you into 4K. Well, now everybody's been talking about and saying the 4070 doesn't do great 4K. It does 1440p and it does 1080p. Okay. Now, as far as the 4K, I have never, and as soon as I get a 4K monitor able to test this out in 4K, to know for myself, I can really give you a definite answer on the RTX 4070, how it does in 4K. But from what other people are saying, it does, and the way the FPS looks, it looks like it's about the same as the 30 series. You know, you're not gaining and you're not losing, if you know what I mean. You're not gaining anything and you're not losing anything. More or less, you can gain something off of the 4K version for the RTX 4070. But everybody says, well, run and get the 4080 or the 4070 Ti. They're a lot better, this and that. Yeah. Catching fire is one thing. Having something that's reliable is another thing. That's to be honest with you. Now, this 4070, I ran it without turning my PC off. I've ran this 1 week solid. 1 week solid. Never caught fire. So Asus did a really good thing with this Asus Dual RTX 4070 OC. So they did a really good thing with this one. So I'm happy with it. And this is the card I'm sticking with for the next couple years. So everybody can have fun with cards taken and burning up and everything else. I don't want none of that headache. And those are the kind of cards I'm not going to recommend to you all. For the simple fact I'm not going to recommend them to you all is because they do have problems, and I haven't heard anything about it being fixed. You know, only fix I heard about was with the power supply. Them showing you a connector connecting it into the goddamn power supply. Okay, I didn't see nothing getting connected into the graphics card. I didn't see no yellow connector for the graphics card. I just see them where they plug it into the power supply. Looks stupid as hell, and it still floors me to see when they did, those videos about, saying, oh, we got the better modular connector. Yeah, you do, but you're only showing us one half of the product. Where's the other half? Where's the other half? I want to see you run that wire for a whole week to 2 weeks. I want to see you run it for 30 days on that connector, connected into a 4090, running at 100% for a whole month. And if it doesn't catch fire in a whole month, then you got a great connector. But if it catches fire, then you got to go back to the drawing board. That's common sense. Test the damn thing before you put it out there into the market. I mean, it doesn't make sense to me why they keep doing this and keep having these problems. But for animation, I can say I get pretty good animation off of the RTX 4070. Okay, it's right in between the price lines. If you wait, and it might come down with the price, that might do you a good thing. Or you might want the 4070 Ti, put a little bit more investment into it, and that'll definitely get you where you need to go. It's in between the 4070 and the 4070 Ti is the place I would rather be than getting the 7900 XT series and down. Excuse me. So that's my opinion. So if you're gonna sorry guys. Damn. If you're gonna get a graphics card, stay the course of where that works very well for you. You've been on the GTX series. So, and that runs well for you. So go up to RTX series. There's plenty of RTX series. Oh yeah. I mean, I agree with that. I mean, yeah, the best thing you just said. The yellow things won't help it. What if it's black or it's yellow? It still won't help it. It's the same plastic. The problem is they're using printable plastic instead of using hard plastic like they do with the 8-pin connectors. I mean, this is the bottom line. They're using printable plastic. When they print things out, the printable plastic ones, bet you any money they're using printable plastic instead of using hard plastic, because you have a mold that smacks down on it and it presses it into a mold. Okay? Now, from what I see, these connectors, I don't see them pressed into a mold. They could have been printed, the connectors could have been printed over. They have a little special mold where they print it in there. But with a hard plastic mold, it pressurizes it between the metal and the plastic. Okay? Now, if what they're trying to do is tell everybody that it's the consumer's fault, that these are catching fire and everything else, but they're lying to everybody. Completely lying to everybody. They're not telling you the process of how they're putting the connectors together. Where's that at? Nobody talks about that. Nobody talks about how they processed and put the connector together. What's the process? You don't need X-ray machines to tell you what their process is, or what kind of plastic they're using, or if they're using printable. If they're using a printer to print the plastic onto those connectors, or they're using the hard plastic mold but a different plastic, a lighter plastic. Nobody configures that in. The manufacturing part. That's what surprises me so much. They could have. I mean, Yeah, they could have. They could have. Well, it could have been a bad nut. What do you think? You know, it could have been a really bad nut. But you know, it's something you really got to think about. It's really. I mean, you really got to think about it. I mean, it's not rocket science to take a certain amount of pins, putting them into a mold, and then pressurizing plastic around it. Long as it's a decent PTE plastic, you know, that's going to hold the connector and not, you know, it has some kind of fireproofing on it. It's not hard to do something to get it to work right. I mean, they cheaped out. That's what they don't want to tell everybody. They cheaped out on the damn plastic. And they're using that BS plastic. You know, they cheaped out on the plastic. Simple as that. And guess what? The connector gets too hot, it melts. That's common sense. That means they cheaped out on the plastic. I mean, that doesn't take an engineer to tell you. That's not rocket science. You know, that is not rocket science. When they cheap out like that, they just want to make things cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. So, you know, basically, they don't want to tell you the other end of what NVIDIA did is instead of drawing most of the power through the motherboard, you know, where they got to have 50% drawn through the motherboard and 50% from the PCIe connector, you know, the one that plugs into the socket, they did is they got it to where they got 80 to 90% drawing through the connector. Yeah. When you look at the board power and you look at the pin connector power and you run it under a full load, then you can see what is pulling more power. If it's pulling more power from the connector, then that's why it's getting hot. If it's not balanced power from the X16 slot to that connector, then guess what happens? It's an imbalance of power. That means it's pulling more from that connector, and guess what? That connector is just going up in smoke. It's going to happen. I mean, it's common sense. I mean, now when I tested the RTX 4070, it's pulling half the amount of power from the motherboard, and it's pulling half the amount of power from the connector. That's smart. I don't see a problem with that. You know, but, you know, it only happens... And this is another thing nobody talks about. Is it board partners cards that are catching and going up in smoke, or is it just NVIDIA cards that are going up in smoke? You know, I really didn't look myself when it come to that. I didn't really think about that until now. Was it just the NVIDIA cards, or was it the board partner cards? Good question, ain't it? So if the NVIDIA cards are the only ones that are, you know, going up in smoke and not the board partner cards, well then, problem solved. Don't get NVIDIA's card, get a board partner card. Problem solved. So, yeah, I do agree with that. They definitely need to learn the thermal properties of the plastic. You know, I do agree, because plastic made about 5 years ago was better plastic than it is now. If you look at your plastic bags are so thin that you can hold them up like this and go, you can see your neighbors from across the street through your plastic. Believe that. That's how thin it is. So if you could do that, you can do that with a plastic bag. Could you imagine what that connector is on that... that 16-pin connector is running like? Especially on if they're pulling 80% of the power through that connector compared to pulling 50% on the motherboard and 50% on the connector. It's common sense. Now, Asus did a good thing. They put 50% on the power from the motherboard and 50% on that connector. So that connector doesn't exceed the amount of power that it can handle. That's a good thing. And Asus, you did a good thing on the RTX 4070. The dual 4070 definitely did a good thing. I'm going to tell you, I'm impressed 100%. I don't care what crap anybody has said about you, and understand that. They got to look beyond that compared to what, what Gigabyte's doing, nvidia's doing, AMD's doing, all these that make more mistakes than, one company. One company says, well, we're not going to do it like the blah blah blah. They all say that. They all say the same thing. Well, we only can do RMAs on this and that and this and that. Guess what? Gigabyte is still trying to do RMAs on their crap that they won't even give any RMAs on their broken foot on their damn, GPU. The feet that are breaking on the GPU, they're not even RMAing them. They're denying the RMA. Now, on the other hand, everybody's criticizing Asus. You guys gotta check your balances, because that right there, you gotta look on the other side of the field. Don't be going after one company when another company is doing twice as worse. And that's my point, And I'm not defending anybody, and I'm a devil's advocate. I'm like down the middle, impartial, and everything. And if your company runs crap, and I get my hands on this crap, I'm going to tell you it's crap. But if it runs like gold, I'm going to tell you it runs like gold. And that's just me, and that's the way it rolls. So, it is what it is. Yeah, they did. They skipped pretty much everything. They skipped pretty much everything. Class, graduation, They were the kind of kids that were sitting in the back of the bus, smoking cigarettes, or they were in the field while school was going on, and they're sitting there, smoking weed and stuff like that. They're that kind of kid, Or they throw a temper tantrum that everybody's going to come running, kind of kid, instead of being like a grown adult, adulting things and doing things the right way. They want to do everything and cheap out just to make a buck. But when you cheap out with your customers, your customer feels it. Guess what? They ain't coming back to you. They're going to run to the competitors because they see the competitors not cheaping out. I don't know how y'all feel about that, but I still feel that the competitors, they're sitting there cheaping out, and I can't see why they're cheaping out so much. I mean, they're getting, and this is another thing. They're getting the products from China, and the parts over there are so cheap, it's insane. They're getting their GPUs made over in China. They're getting their semiconductors made over in China. They're getting their PCBs made over in China. Okay, not one of them is getting any graphic card parts made in the USA. Not one. Now, I guarantee if it was made here in the USA, it'd be real. It definitely would be made correctly. Because that's just the way the USA is because when they put together parts, it's made number one, not number two. So, yeah, Caesar, yeah, China. Yeah, it's just pretty much what it is. I mean, no, but it's, Thanos, listen, your English is fine. I can understand you correctly. So don't worry about it. I mean, I've had a lot of years in training. See, I used to be a restaurant manager for many years. Okay, so I had to go through training courses about how people talk, people that are from different languages and stuff like that. I had to learn and assess how people talk. So it's not a big deal to me. I can assess, yeah, I might not be able to speak language, but, you're doing better than I am because you're speaking, learning my kind of language and you have your own kind of language. So, yeah, I understand that. Sanchitos Ticos. Caesar, you're throwing Spanish on me, man. That ain't fair. That's not fair. Now you're going to make me go Google it so that way I can see if you're swearing at me. But, you know, look, guys, listen. I'm going to tell you, if you're going to get a graphics card, wait a little bit. Wait for the 4070 to come down in price. Get yourself some 4070s. That's going to be the card to get. Not the 4060s, not the 4070, or not the 4050s, the 4060, 4060 Ti's. The 4070 is right in the middle kind of card. I'm going to tell you that. It's right in the middle kind of card. It's not a 4070 Ti, it's not a 4080 or a 4090. Okay? But it still has potentials. Your English is from China. $1.99 a pound. Really? $1.99 a pound. That's not too bad. That's kind of a better deal. You know, get $1.99 a pound for, you know, that's not too bad. No, but, you know, if you have, and understand this, if you've bought the AM5 series and you moved up into the AM5 series, that's really good. But you're going to have to really watch on your temperatures of your processor. You know, your processor is going to, you know, eat up a lot of temperature. So you got to make sure you have a water cooling temperature. Me, I'm running off of air cooling. I'm running on the DDR4 series. Most of your DDR4 series will run off of air cooling. Now, DDR5, with the way the heat of that processor is, you got to worry about more or less like going AIO or water cooling. So, you know, it depends on what you want to do there. You know, if you want to do water cooling, if, you know, whatever you want to do there, that's up to you. But, you know, me, on the other hand, I want to put water cooling in my computer. This one here that I got, I want to put some water cooling in it. The case is small, and putting a water cooler in there make it look even more. So I don't think it'll look bad. I mean, I don't think water cooling the GPU would be the best thing though, but there you go, Caesar. There you go. No, but be honest with y'all, if you're looking for a decent GPU, wait for the prices to come down on the 4070. Get yourself a 4070, and that would be the way to go. I mean, I could show you what I do on mine, you know, as far as getting, you know, FPS and everything else. I'm sure if you watch my previous videos from before, you know, I did testing on the 4070. You can see that I got plenty of videos on the 4070, me testing it and showing you how much performance I'm getting out of it. So it's not really hard. Oh, I mean, be honest with you, Thanos. I'm gonna be honest with you. That Prism cooler, okay. That Prism cooler ain't gonna be no different. And I'm just gonna crack this one out here. That Prism cooler ain't gonna be no different than this. Why do you think mine still sits in the box? It might be a little bit, the Prism cooler might be a little bit thicker, you know, but as far as cooling and everything else, you're gonna want something with a little bit more, you know, cooling power. You're gonna want something that you can cool way more other than using a Prism cooler. Okay. You're gonna want something better than, you know, Prism cooler. I'm just gonna be honest with you about that. You want a cooler like this. That cooler right there that I'm showing you, that one right there, that's a jumbo cooler. I got that cooler right there. Let me turn you around here so you can see me. That cooler I got for 20 bucks. I got that on Amazon. It's a really good cooler. I mean, to me, it does. I mean, I put the pressure up to about maybe 200 watts, and it handles fine at 200 watts. Gives me a 60 degrees C at 200 watts. So, yeah. Well, yeah, most of your AMD coolers are going to be different. The Rave cooler is going to be a little bit bigger or a little bit smaller, depending on what kind of cooler you got. Especially it's RGB lit. A lot of people, they like their coolers with RGB and stuff like that. But you can, and believe it or not, you can for $89 get yourself a 240 millimeter rad AIO for 89 bucks, maybe 79 bucks. You can get 240 mils for like 79 bucks. You can get a 300, what is it, 320, I think it is, or 360. Yeah, I think it is a 360 I seen for like $99. Okay, if you're looking for an AIO, the best way to go would be to get yourself either a 240, a 280, or a 320. You know, get yourself like a 320 mil rad. That would do you pretty good too. But, you know, as far as, now do remember, this Ryzen 7 5700X definitely becomes a hot box really quick. Just like the 7000 series of AMD processors. It gets just as hot, just as quick. Okay, I measured it at a normal condition off of a normal, smaller cooler, like a cooler you got. I measured it with this one. Okay, now that 5700X got up to, with that cooler, it got up to almost about 87 degrees, almost 90 degrees Celsius. So it hit it almost at the peak, just to say. Because no matter, you know, with those coolers, you know, the Prism coolers and stuff like that, you know, they're all going to be running the same. They all got the same, you know, principle to the facts. But if you want to keep your processor really cool, you know, then get yourself a 250 watt cooler, like an AIO or an air cooler, which you can get an air cooler. I think Deep Cool's got some good ones too. You know, use your imagination. They got Deep Cool and stuff in there too, you know. Always look for, you know, what you think for the price, what it's really worth to you. I thought it was really worth the price to me, getting that one I got in my computer here. I thought that was a really good deal. I got that for $20. So I thought it was a really good deal. Power supply, I only paid 53 bucks for this power supply. You know, not a bad deal. So, and the ram's a little bit different. I had started with 16 gigabytes of RAM. Now I'm up to 64 gigabytes of RAM. I'm sure y'all can see the prices on that. You know, I mean, what, $79 every 32, I think it was. I think I paid 79 or 69 bucks for every 32 gigs. I got a matching set of 4, so it is a good thing. Non-X CPUs run cooler than X version CPUs, totally in half than the X version. Good point. But this is an X version, but it's only running at 65 watts, like a non-X version. Good point. Difference is, it pulls more power. This is true. X version pulls more power than the non-X version. So I reduced the power by offsetting the curve, the PBO curve, by -20 on all cores. This brought it down to where it's legible, to where the heat doesn't go over 60 degrees Celsius. Runs it perfectly. I don't have one problem with the X version or, any other processor. But, if my processor runs just as good as your processor, then I paid half the price that you paid for your processor. Does that make sense? Hopefully that makes sense to you. So I'm waiting to see if AMD is going to crack out with the 5600 X3D in AM4 series. Not the AM5, AM4 series. They got plenty of X3D CPUs for the AM5 series, but I want to see if AMD is going to do something for the AM4. Are they going to keep it alive? That's going to be the question. There's still a lot of consumers on the AM4 motherboards. There's a lot still on the AM4 motherboards. And they run just as good as the AM5 motherboards. And I'm sorry to put it to you like that, because with the new AM5 motherboards, they took off half of the overclocking capabilities that the AM4 used to have. Just to let you know that, so you understand, you lost half of the capabilities when you bought the AM5 series compared to the AM4. So, AM4, you have a wide berth of overclocking. AM5 series, you don't. What they got? Oh, they got the Expo. Well, guess what? They're telling you not to use the Expo. Use the Expo, you're going to catch your processor on fire. Not when on here on the AM4 series with the DOCP, you can run that all day long, and it doesn't catch fire. So, there's kind of things that you got to look at, the good side and the bad side of things. DDR4's got a little bit of bad side. Yeah, you can get DDR4 up to, you can get it all the way up to 4600 megahertz. Does that mean it's bad? Actually, no. If you get it all the way up to 4600 megahertz on the RAM for DDR4 series, do you think that's not faster than DDR5 series? Think about it. I mean, seriously, I want you to take it 5 minutes, step back, and think about that. Is it going to be faster than the other one? You got less to overclock on the other one than you do the other one. So basically, DDR4, you got more to clock on than you do the DDR5. You clock on the DDR5, and then what happens is it overloads the processors and everything else. It's not stable. DDR4 is more stable. It's seasoned. It's been here a long time. That's what you got to look at. Yeah. Exactly. You disabled your Expo on yours, right? But not on mine. Believe it or not, the DOCP is disabled, but I manually clocked it, so now it's not DOCP, it's actually XMP. How can I show you that it's XMP? There's a way I can show you how it's XMP. I just gotta remember. I seen it earlier this week. Oh, you're welcome, Caesar. Anytime. Okay. So there's one more version. There's one more version that nobody knows about, what you can do with Asus motherboards. And I just explained it. I'll explain it again. In order to get XMP on Asus motherboards, is you manually clock your memory. Manually clock it. You don't auto clock it. You manually clock your memory. your infinity fabric, you manually clock, and the total frequency, you go, what it goes is, if you got 3200 megahertz RAM, like I do from Corsair, you clock it up manually at 3200 megahertz, and then you take after that for your infinity fabric, divide 3200 into 1600, or 3200 divided by 2 gives you 1600 megahertz of infinity fabric. It's one half. It's actually, you're going by one half per slot. So basically it's just like one half. So it's XMP. It's considered XMP. When you manually clock it, it's XMP. Okay. So not a lot of people understand that point. Oh, I remember where I seen that. I seen that into the BIOS. I seen that in the BIOS where I had it manually clocked and it showed me XMP, XMP1, which would be at 3200 megahertz. Sorry, Jay. I think I am a computer tech with network electronics software. Wow. That's too much thinking. Yeah, it is. Believe it or not, it is. It's way too much thinking for, one set. We got plenty more sets coming about, just to let you know. Yeah, it's a lot of thinking. But when you're putting a system together, okay? When you're putting a system together, I don't care how many times everybody tells somebody. They always say, start with the processor, start with the processor. Your processor's not dictating your motherboard. Your processor's not dictating your motherboard. That only dictates one part of your motherboard. This right here only dictates one part of your motherboard. Your motherboard dictates your GPU, your CPU, your RAM. It dictates everything about your computer. It's the heart and life of your computer. So that's where you start with first, is the motherboard. Because with DDR4 and you got a B550 motherboard, most of the processors in the 5000 series will run on your motherboard. So it's not hard. Thank you, Caesar. Thank you very much. No, but I'm just being honest with you. If you look at the long run, okay, now the Zen 3 5000 series, all the processors that are in the Zen 3 5000 series, okay, you have a whole line of those processors that will run with the B450, the B550, the 570, I think it's the 570, or the 590, something. I keep getting Intel mixed. I keep getting Intel mixed. That's crazy. I keep thinking Intel. I don't know why I was thinking Intel. We're not discussing Intel today. But I'm saying, you got the 500 series motherboards, you got the 400 and maybe one or two of the 300s that will run the 5000 series, the Zen 3 5000 series. So with having all those processors, add up how many processors there are for the Zen 3 5000 series. There are a ton. I still got many to go. I still got the 5800 X3D to go, the 5800X. I still got the 5900X, the 5950. Was it 5950? I think it is. Or the Ryzen 9 39. Was it 3930? Ryzen 9 3000 series. See, there's so many GPUs out there. So many brand new, so many used, and there's processors everywhere. It's just like it's coming out your eardrums. There's processors everywhere. They're flinging them right and left. You get one motherboard, it will take care of all the processors. Especially this motherboard right here, this Asus motherboard, the Strix. And the price I got on the Strix was not bad. Very good price, very good price. That B550 motherboard will do a long line of processors. So all I got to do is just buy processors. I don't have to buy a motherboard anymore. So if that makes sense to y'all, think about it very carefully. When it comes to when you want to buy a motherboard, get one that's going to last you a long time. Get one that's going to be decent, that's going to last you a long time, that's going to, rock your world. Okay? So, I did. I used my head, figured out what kind of motherboard I wanted, and I picked it. I picked the Strix board. And back then, Strix was the shiz. Okay? You hear all them top naming, all them top reviewers talking about the Strix. That's all they talked about was the Strix motherboards. And now the Strix motherboards came to price. They came cheaper in price. So, I'm facing a strange issue with my old GTX 1070. Whenever I use DisplayPort, cable PC, boot 1, long and 3 short beeps. But my PC fine after that. I'm wondering what that beep's trying to tell me. 1 long beeps and 3 shorts depends on your motherboard. Your motherboard has its own set of codes. If it's an Asus motherboard, you look it up to Asus motherboard. It's got a set of codes. If it's a Gigabyte motherboard, MSI's got their own set of beeps for their motherboard. Not all motherboards have the same beeps. Not in a standard. They used to be in a standard long time ago, but now they're not really in the standard. If you got one where you got the lighting on the motherboard that tells you if the processor's good, the RAM's good, that runs you along the whole stretch. You got the four LED lights as your motherboard links up, then, that can give you some good indication. But if you're having problem with your display port, then check your cable, see if your cable doesn't have a short. Check the pin connections in the display port itself. Make sure no pins are bent or anything else. Make sure you get a solid connection on your I would say take apart your graphics card and tell you if it's inside your graphics card, but since your graphics card's been used a lot, it might be time to do to get with the tech and get a refresh done on your graphics card. Or it might be time for you to do a refresh on your graphics card completely. 10 series, it's kind of down there. So, my opinion to you, just my personal opinion, I would take and retire the card and get yourself something better. Because as the card gets older in time, the transistors and stuff on the cards are going to wear out in time. They're going to wear out. Transistors don't last forever. Just to let you know. Those big GPU transistors, they don't last forever. There's going to come a time they start breaking down and wearing out, and they're degrading. So, Then it could be the display port connection between your monitor and the GPU itself. Could be the connection between the two. The best way to test that would be to use a DP to HDMI converter. A little adapter. It would be best to do that with an adapter. Go take the display port, plug in a display port to HDMI converter, connector kind of thing, and connect that to your monitor and see if it gives you the same response. Okay? If it gives you a different response, then it's not the display port itself. Then it's actually the connector going from the display port to the monitor. So maybe it's that converter that you would use for HDMI instead of a display port to display port. I'm not sure. See, the thing is this. I'm not sure how your how you have your monitor set to your computer. Okay, if you're using HDMI to an HDMI converter, then maybe you want to check the converter for the display port to HDMI. Maybe you want to check that to make sure it's working correctly, because if it's not, then that could be giving you issues too. You know, those adapters don't seem to work good on certain cards. So you might want to have to switch the adapter. You might got a faulty adapter. You know, it's a combination of things. Now, if they come out with monitors with display port hookup, that would be a thing that I'm waiting to see. All these new monitors that are coming out now are all running HDMI. I don't see a direct display port adapter hookup. You know, going from display port to display port. I don't see that in these monitors. You know, and that's the reason why I was saying, you know, why the hell they got so many display ports on a graphics card when your monitors now these days don't even have the direct display port connection. You know, they don't even have the direct display port cable connection. Why are they actually running, you know, 3 display ports and 1 HDMI on one graphics card? Makes no sense to me. You know, it's crazy and stupid. You know, it's common sense to me. You know, they would have thought this out a long time ago, but they didn't think this out. Okay, they really didn't think that out. Set up your video card again, reset physical and software. Okay, well, that's true, but if he could do that, but the thing is, if his HDMI port is running right and his display port's running wrong, do remember what drivers they're running on. They're sharing the drivers between the two. So in actuality, you know, when it comes to the display port to the HDMI, they're both almost sharing similar drivers. So it doesn't, in a sense, in a technical sense, it really doesn't matter in between the two. Okay? One's just running things a little bit different than the other, but they're both sharing the same exact driver that's running to the video card. So do understand that. So now, many people are going to argue that with me. You can argue that with me all you want, but when it comes down to the direct drivers for your video card, it's going to be operating the same on your HDMI as it is your display port. So it doesn't change. So changing his drivers is more or less like telling somebody, well, you need to change your underwear every 5 seconds. Truthfully. But I think it is, you got the display port adapter to an HDMI adapter. You got a faulty one. Maybe you want to change it and go from there. That's the best route to go. Test it in HDMI mode, the display port. If it works and no problem, then you know where the problem is. It's called deduction. Doing deductions, deducting it down to finding the square root of the problem. So, me on the other hand, that's the way I would do it. I would get a display port to HDMI connector, plug it in, and then test it on an HDMI monitor. If my HDMI monitor runs great, then I know what the problem was. It was the other connector. So, start at the beginning, and that's where you flip at. You know. Yep, that's pretty much it. So, always start with, you know, the obvious. Change the connectors, and if they run great, then you found the problem. Problem solved. So, That's just to be honest with you guys. I mean, some people, they say, well, I've had my connector 5 years and never gave me a problem. Okay, well, transferring energy through a wire back and forth, and they're like hair bit wires, and they're going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. It's generating heat. It's stretching the wire like this, back and forth, and it's playing hell on the wire. And the only thing that's really keeping that wire inside, that's keeping it gravy, is, guess what? There's little nylon strands in there to keep that wire from breaking. Supposedly, it stretches the wire with the heat going through it and everything else. So in time, yes, it will snap. So you're best off to try a whole new setup when it comes to connecting your computer to your monitor. And I do this every 3 years. I changed all the connectors. I throw out all, I get rid of the old ones, and I go all brand new every 3 years. So I never have that problem. Hello, Defender. Welcome. Welcome to the live chat room. Best PC make for Second Life, please. Max performance or parts make it myself. Made it myself. Best PC make for Second Life, please. Max performance or max part make it myself. Well, you know what? If you're looking to make a PC with max performance, stick with what that works. Stick with what works. Okay? If you want to do a low cost PC, but get great performance, then you're best to stay with the AM4 series. If you want to do AMD or Intel, I've found AMD to run better than Intel on Second Life. It's got more MMX technology on the AMD side than it does the Intel side. And, basically with running OpenGL, you need more of that MMX technology than you do with Intel. Intel doesn't carry a great line of MMX technology. So, to be honest with you, a B550 motherboard fully unlocked with an Asus processor fully unlocked, as long as you stay in the 5000 series, between the 5600 all the way up to the 5950X series, you can do good. Okay, 850 watt power supply. I'm sticking with Thermaltake. I don't know, I haven't sampled in the Corsair or anything else. I stick with Thermaltake because I've been running this 8 months solid. This Thermaltake right here, this PSU, not one problem. Corsair and the RAM, I got 3200 megahertz Corsair. CL16, the LPX. Everybody is running it. That you can run the 3200 or you can run the 3600 megahertz. Either or will be good for AMD or Intel, just to let you know. 32 to 36 is the nice sweet spot for it. That's where you want to be. Run that. As long as it's CL16, don't run 16 gigs. Run you either 32 or 64 gigs. Save yourself a couple bucks. And run 64 gigs. In this way, you don't have to do it for a long time. You can get 5-6 years out of it and don't have to upgrade the RAM. So, cost-effective wise, from 5 years down the road, this is where I tell everybody, don't look at what's now right here, these two here. Don't look at now. Look at what the future is. Look at 5 years down the road. How long you're going to hold this computer and how long you're going to upgrade the parts. Think about it. So you want to think in that model right there. Think about what kind of case you want to use. You want to use an open air case, one that has open air. And let me show you open air. Open air. Now you see the difference with open air. I got 6 fans. 6 fans on this case. Why I don't have a front on this case is because I did something differently. I didn't want all that restriction on the CPU, the computer case. I didn't want all that crap that you have right there. You know, when it comes to you know, everybody worrying about having an air filter or something on the front of it. Get real. Okay, if you don't know how to take a fan off and clean a fan, then, you know, it took me 9 months to get dust on those front fans. Get this, it took me 9 months to get dust on the front fans, the front 3. So, and you know, on the back 3, I had 0 dust. 0 dust. I have no dust filter whatsoever on this. And I cleaned 3 fans, and 3 fans are already clean. Get the point? There's enough air moving through this case that it's not going to build up dust. That's the whole point. I'm trying, Caesar. I'm trying. Oh my God. Oh my goodness. Yes, it is. It's a Ryzen PC. I have the Ryzen 7 5700X, but I have the nvidia RTX 4070. But the PC is Ryzen, it's AMD. But the only difference is the Intel. I have for the internet connection, the Ethernet is Intel. It's an Intel Ethernet connection. That's crazy. I mean, that's nuts. Well, the thing is I'm just being honest with you. You see, I'm on a desk. I put my computer on a desk, okay? Now, with it being on a desk, it's away from the floor and it collects less dust. So, the only dust I'm getting through it is the first 3 fans, right? But if these 3 fans are moving enough air through the case, and those 3 fans in the back are pulling up enough air, and it's going like this, going straight up like this, and it's just pulling it out, you're not getting much dust. Not at all. So, you know, with the 6 fans I got in there, 2 fans on the GPU, and 1 fan on the processor, so that's how many fans? 9 fans? 9 fans circulating air in there. Where's dust going to stick? Dust don't have time to stick anywhere because it's all moving around in the case and blowing out the top. So basically, you're not really getting much dust, and you can clean this about twice a year. I mean, not have any problems. You know, truthfully, I'll clean mine twice a year. I'll clean it in the middle of the summer before the summer hits, and I'll clean it right before spring begins. So there it is. Easy peasy, easy take. Now, as far as, you know, what you need for your SSD drives, M.2 NVMe, way to go. You got on this motherboard here, I got one 4.0 X4 slot, and I got one 3.0 X4. Believe it or not, my computer right now is running in the 3.0 X4. I did not populate the 4.0 X4 slot. Yep. I got no problem with the NVMe drive. And that's the same NVMe drive I took out of my B450 motherboard and planted it in here with no problems. All I had to do was recorrect the drivers. That was it. All I had to do was fix up the drivers and take out the old drivers. Boom. The program, I had never reinstalled Windows yet, going from one motherboard to the next, just to let you know that. There's a way to do it where you don't have to do that. It's very simple. It's just using common sense, and everybody knows Windows 10 will update the drivers to the new motherboard. Simple. Yes, it is. Caesar, this is running PCIe X16 4.0. Yes. It says it in my stats. It says it on hardware info that I'm running X16 4.0. Yes. I'm running full chooch on that. So, but now with the M.2 drive, that's a different story. I didn't want to take away from the graphics card, so I put mine into the 3.0 X4 slot for the M.2 drive. Works like a dream. I don't have a problem. The problem is this. When it comes to the new motherboards and everything else, the PCIe, the M.2, the PCIe 4.0 X4 that are run on the M.2 drive is sharing with the video card that's on the PCIe X16 4.0 slot. So if you use those two together, then you're going to start reducing the power, the PCIe slot power, down to like X8. So why are you going to be running at X16 and put an M.2 drive to share that with, to knock it down to X8, instead of using the 3.0 drive, M.2 slot plug-in that runs off the coprocessor? I mean, I had to really think this one out. Where I want to keep all the power. Do I want to keep two M.2 drives in, or just one M.2 drive and one big HDD drive, which I got a 15 terabyte HDD drive. The old platter drives. So I got a 15 terabyte HDD drive with a 1 terabyte M.2 PCIe 3.0. It's from Crucial. It's a Crucial drive, so Crucial, thumbs up. It's a monster drive. Plus this drive here, I know getting their program gives it a little bit of a boost as well, so I'm able to get the clock speeds up to about 5,000 or 6,000. And that's an older M.2 drive. So don't ask me how I do that. It just worked like that, and it just fell into, everything into sync. Everything fell into line with each other. I mean, I was surprised when I put this PC together, everything just fell into line. From my old PC to my new PC, everything fell in together. Everything that I needed from my old PC fits on my new PC, because guess what? They're both DDR4. Now, my old processor on my old motherboard will fit in just fine with this motherboard. I can swap them out if I want to use integrated graphics. I got an integrated graphics chip I can put in there if my graphics card gives out. See, I have many options. Why I always tell everybody. It's why I always tell everybody. Never get rid of your PC parts. Always keep them nice and neat in a safe place. If you got a cover for them, keep them inside of a cover. Keep them all nice and neat. Don't ever get rid of your parts. Your parts, when it comes to your PC and you're doing so much work, your parts are your life when it comes to the PC. So, Ultra, here I come. So you're gonna so Defender, you're gonna take it all the way up to Ultra. If that's what I'm saying, you're gonna take it all the way to the top. I took mine, and I've been running mine on Second Life for 3 days, 3 or 4 days now, on Ultra, and I don't even notice it. That's the thing. I don't even notice. I don't see no hiccups or headaches or anything else. And that's the thing. That's the crazy part about this. When you got that much horsepower and using it on a site that only requires you to have a 4 gigabyte video card, it's kind of different, you know. Oh, I got you. I do the same thing too. I got a backup PC for Second Life too. You know, I got my main one and I got a backup. So no matter what game I play, I always have a backup to a backup when it comes to needing stuff. You know, it's not a big deal to me. You know, but always remember to keep your parts, because you never know when you're going to need them the most. You're going to get into a pinch and you can't, you know, you got nothing else to work with. They're very good to have in case you get into a pinch. So do remember that. Do keep that in mind. You know, I had that question asked to me, what was it, about a week ago? Somebody asked me, okay, I got four graphics cards. I can sell them all and get one big graphics card. I was like, okay, you can sell all of them, and they're probably perfectly running and everything else, but guess what happens? You just sold it for half its cost, what you paid for it to get it out of the box. You just lost all that extra horsepower and everything else because you want to get one decent one. You're best off just save your money, get one decent one, keep your parts. Simple as that. Never get rid of your parts. Be honest with you, because they're going to be a lifesaver when it comes down the road. You know, I've ran into that problem many of times. I got a PC here, got a PC here, I got a PC here, I got a PC there. You know, I got a PC up in the moon. You know, I got PCs everywhere. So it's not the matter of having them, it's just a matter of that you never know when you're going to need it. You know, you're going to have a friend that has his PC breaks down or her PC breaks down. You're going to need it. You know. So, and especially when it comes to running on Second Life, which is online 3D graphics, which that's OpenGL, that is a monster on your processor. That beats the holy crap out of your processor harder than running DirectX 12. Now, everybody says, oh no, it doesn't do anything, it doesn't show any FPS or anything else. Go watch my videos from previously. Go watch them all. That shows you the FPS I've been getting off of Second Life. You think that's fake FPS? No, it's not. That's down to the barrel. That's not ray tracing. That's not DLSS 3. That's raw horsepower from the GPU itself. That has nothing else connected to it, just raw horsepower. So when people understand that fact and you run it on the raw side where you're running just straight horsepower, then you know the difference. You know. So there's a big difference. There's a big difference. It's not like running a DirectX 12 game to where, you know, you got DLSS 3 and you got all this boosting and everything else. No, hell no. Not on OpenGL. I'm sorry, I beg to differ. It's nothing but the graphics card. all graphics card, all VRAM, everything A to Z. So it has nothing to do with the DLSS 3 or, nothing. It only gives you one option. It gives you low, medium, and ultra. That's the only options you get on OpenGL. You can turn lights on and off. You can streamline things. But when it comes to DLSS 3 being on OpenGL, not possible. Not on Second Life. Doesn't happen. So, but as far as me getting what I'm getting between 600 and 800 FPS off of a 4070, and then when I go into a club with 50 people and I'm still getting 120 and 130 FPS, game only requires you to have 60 FPS. All that extra FPS is just extra. So do understand that when you play a game and you see the max of its FPS and you can hit its max with what you got, then you know you got somewhere. So that's the best way to do it. Oh, I got you there. Yeah. I mean, when you optimize, when you're playing consoles, right? It's totally different. Okay, consoles, you're on a set amount of hardware. Okay, PCs you're not. PCs you have an unlimited amount of hardware choices. Unlimited amount of hardware choices. But when you go to do 3D world sites like New World or Second Life or, like Metaverse and stuff like that, you need something with a lot more raw horsepower. And that means you need to build a PC that has all the bells and whistles for you to get from point A to point B. If not, you're just going to be sitting in a sim doing nothing. You're going to be the kind of kid that sits on the couch and watches everybody plays the games. Simple as that. So if you want to have a decent experience in Second Life, you're best off to have a PC that at least has enough horsepower to get you there. Like at least have 8 gigs of VRAM, something with a decent amount of cores. Cores are everything. I ran many months off of the integrated graphics on Second Life, and that integrated graphics I got, that's only 470 cores. 470 cores. And that's off of a processor. So, big difference compared to that. So, big difference compared to a discrete graphics card. Now, this one I have has got 5,888 cores. So, that's a big difference between integrated graphics and the discrete graphics card. So, Second Life is a 3D world, Caesar. It's a 3D world where everybody, it's real life people go to this site and they talk with each other day in and day out. It's like The Sims, but this is more lifelike. It's more lifelike. You can talk to friends, family, you can talk to everybody all over the world. It's really a fun game. I've been on it for, 21 years, somewhere in there. It's really fun. Game port's pretty rubbish for PCs at the moment, so don't do it all. So don't do it. Well, on my PC, I play it all. I don't play game consoles because I think that's like a waste of money. Okay, trying to do Second Life on an Xbox game console doesn't really fly well. But doing it on a decent PC where, the parts, you okay, decent PC. You spend 900 to $1,000 on a decent gaming console. You spend $1,000 on a decent gaming PC. You have more horsepower, more advantage, and more you can do than you do the gaming console. Gaming console stuck on what they call a CD-ROM. ROM, R-O-M. Not RAM, ROM. Basically, it's on a set program that you just got. Unless you get it hacked, that's the only way it's going to change. But on your computer, you can do anything you want. Do remember that. You have more to gain on a PC, desktop PC, than you do with a gaming console. Linden Labs. Caesar. Linden Labs makes that... I beg to differ, Defender. I had a friend that did. He got it hacked, and he got Second Life onto his Xbox. I didn't ask how he did it, and I didn't really want to know how he did it. Because running it on a gaming console, it's going to be crap. It's not going to run as great as it does running on a PC. Yeah. So 9 years is a long time, though. I'll tell you what, 9 years is a long time, Defender. Just to let you know that 9 years is a lot. Oh my God, y'all didn't tell me we've been live for 2 hours and 27 minutes now. Oh my goodness. I guess I got another hour in me. I'm having too much fun. Yeah, no, you're right. Not out of the box. No, not out of the box. Believe it or not out of the box. No, I agree with you 100%. That's something that has to, you have to have a very great skill to go in there and convert it to run it, the way you want it to run. But as far as a PC, you get the right PC with the right parts, that game will run like a dream. I have yet to be booted off of Second Life. Yet to be booted. Because the PC runs too good to be booted. That's how you got to look at it. You don't want to be booted. You want to stay there. And you know how Second Life is. If you don't have that kind of horsepower behind your computer, you get down to like 20, you get down to like 5 FPS, you barely move. So yeah, that's true. You do. You meet tons of great people there. Awesome. I mean, the many years I've been there, I've met so many awesome people. I mean, so many. And I go there just to have fun. Even though I'm not going to brag about it, even though that I DJ there, yeah, it's kind of fun. Because you got a bunch of people, everybody's talking in, local, everybody's typing in, everybody joins in, everybody has fun, everybody has a good time, everything's just like a party there. This is for when you can't get out and, you don't like going out to bars and stuff like that. You want to sit back and you want to have fun and everything else. This is the place to be. Slideshow? What do you mean by slideshow? I doubt it. Ugh. Sorry, I had to stretch. Second Life to me is much more than that. It's much more than that. I'll be honest with you. It's a fun place. I mean, it's a really good place to be. It's really fun and everything else, but you know, it's right there if you want to have a good time, you know. But you know, places like that. See, the thing that I don't do is metaverse. I don't do metaverses because they get too many damn requirements and everything else, and it's just, it doesn't work correctly for me. And plus, the way they look on metaverse is nowhere near to the way they look on Second Life. Second Life has got more detailed features than metaverse has. Metaverse is more or less for like children. It's not for adults. Now, Second Life is more of an adult kind of situation. They try to keep it adult so that way, you know, when you're an adult, you want to have fun. Oh, Wildcats. I DJ at Wildcats on Wednesday if you want to know. 4 p.m. So if you want to know that, I just let you know. Yeah, I do a 4 p.m. at Wildcats. So look it up, come on out, and you can see me party there. It's not a secret because they don't mind the advertisement. So, but just let you know, it's a good game to have fun with, you know. But it does have its ups and downs, just like any other game does. You're gonna have your game pervs and you're gonna have your game saints in there. You know, it's not restricted, but in the sense it has restricted areas, like it has general, where it's got, you know, from a minor section, it's got intermediate, which is moderate, to where, you know, there's a restriction on a couple things, and it's got an adult side where, you know, there's no restrictions on the adult side. You just got to follow the TOS, the terms of service, you know. That's basically how Second Life works. Now, as far as you want to get clothing for your avatar and stuff like that, they got a whole marketplace for that. And as far as if you want to earn money, I'm not advertising for them. I'm just letting you know. If you want to earn money on Second Life, you can earn money just as long as you got PayPal and a checking account and they're connected. You can transfer lindens into cash, just to let you know. If you want to make it a living, you can do that too. I know a friend of mine that made thousands of dollars doing what he did. You know, I mean, he would make like $4,500 a month off of Second Life. I don't know. I never got into it, but you know, just let you know, it is possible. Just like when you become a creator on YouTube, same thing. Same thing. You can earn money off of YouTube. You can earn money off of Patreon. You can earn money off of having a little store for everyone, you know, everyone that goes from your, you know, clicks on it from your videos, goes to your store, picks up merch and everything else. You know, it's how you work everything, just to let you know. But as far as PCs, I noticed a couple things that I see other people do that I don't really care for, but I know the right way of doing it, so I just say my way, this is the way I do it, and I don't involve the others, so I leave their name out of it, because I don't even want to put a bad taste on the internet. Whatever they do on their channel, that's their business, not mine. Oh, yeah. You know when the last time I spent money on Second Life was back in 2000 and... was it 2005? I think it was 2005 where I bought $20 worth of lindens. 2005. That was the last time I paid for it. I never bought linden since. Never needed to. So, yeah. Very, very simple to earn. You go to a club, you work for a club, people tip you out, you make money. Simple as that. That's how it works. It's like going to a nightclub from your house. You can have country, you can have rock, you can have every one of the gentries that are out there. There's a club for it. You know, far as far as authenticities, like your different languages and stuff like that, they got those too. So you can get into a club that's, let's say a Spanish-speaking club, a nightclub. They got those too. They got Colombian clubs. They got different kind of clubs. They got Swedish clubs. They got everything you can think about in that game. Well, if you got the game, Caesar, you can get ready to bone it. There we go. Oh my God. So, okay, so what we learned so far, me telling you guys this, oh yeah, I mean, Defender, listen, I agree with you 100%. I always help out the newcomers as well. Any newcomers that, I don't call them noobs, I say newcomers. That's just me, I remember being in their shoes one day, so I just call everybody newcomers. So, but the thing is this, I see newcomers come to me every day asking me questions. I'm always giving them answers. They ask me, well, how can I make this run a little bit faster and more efficient, on Second Life? And I tell them how to set it all up. Or just watch my video on Second Life, about Second Life and setting it up. So this way you understand what to turn off and how it's going to run for you and everything else. So that's basically where I go with that. As far as me playing Steam games and everything else, the DirectX 12 on this runs awesome. I don't have a problem with it. Now, the reason why I say you want maybe between 32 and 64 gigs of RAM on your computer is because if you run out of that dedicated RAM for your PC, you lose all FPS. You'll lose all FPS whatsoever, because the VRAM on your graphics card is still attached to the discrete RAM that's on your PC. They're still attached to each other. Until they break it off and make the VRAM totally dedicated to the processor only, then that's the only way you're going to break between the VRAM on your graphics card and the discrete on your computer. So if you don't have the right kind of speed of discrete RAM on your computer, you're going to cause the VRAM on your graphics card a lot of issues. So do keep that in mind. Oh, you get them fishing too? Oh, that's cool. That's cool. Yeah. I mean, believe it or not, I used to run around and do all them fishing games. I used to take a bunch of people, run around and do the fishing games, to do a little bit of contest and everything else. And then, also too, I usually take them to the freebie stores and just tell them, hey, go wild. It's the freebie stores. Go get what you want and stuff like that. But the bad part about what's coming up soon, Defender, is they're going to be taking out classic bodies. All the classic materials are going to be going bye-bye soon. All the classic materials are going bye-bye. So it's going to be nothing but mesh. All 100% mesh. None of the classic environments, all going to be gone. That means all your classic clothes are going to be gone. So if you know anybody that's still on the classic body, put them on mesh, because they're getting ready to do away with all the classic. It's going bye-bye. Sometime between now and the end of this year, it's all going to be going bye-bye. So that means I just lost thousands of dollars on all the stuff that I have. I just lost thousands of dollars because they do that. All the creators that are in the marketplace, they're going to be losing a ton of money. They're going to lose a ton of people if they do this. They just got to realize, you can't do that. You got to leave that. That's the reason why you got that in place. If they didn't want that in the beginning, they should have started everybody off on mesh instead of starting everybody off on the classic, kind of Barbie kind of classic kind of thing. Really? Shit, for sure. Okay, now the thing is this. What other issues were you guys having trying to get between AM4 and AM5? This is what I really wanted to find out was, what do you think is better, the AM4 series or the AM5? Do you really think that actually I'm watching the chat too. Remember, I'm watching the chat, everybody. Defender, actually, no, it started out as classic. There was no mesh. Everything was virtually classic. It's wire frame, and it's just basically wired frame and, the skin. It was weird how they did the classic bodies. They used to have, where you got to add this or add this, add things to the skin to get the body to work correctly. So, Caesar, everything's like $2, don't you know? But the thing is this, back years ago, when they first opened up, everything was on classic bodies. Yeah, well, back in when they first started, it was on. See, now mesh is on a 3D term. It's on a 3D plane. Okay. Now classic body is on a 2D plane. Okay, there's a big difference between 2D and 3D. Okay. Now your classic is on a 2D plane instead of a 3D plane. That's the reason why they come out with the mesh. Because the physics and everything else is it's totally crazy. It's totally crazy. You got to have the right physics. You got to have the right skin for the right color for between the body and the head and stuff like that. It's totally nuts. I think just money, time, and what we wanted then. Well, yeah, Caesar, think about it. Yeah. Well, it's what you want. It's how you spend your money and what you want at the end. Okay, what's the end game? What's it going to be like? And yes, Defender Classic does suck. Okay, but that's the reason why they have the mesh there. That's the reason why they have mesh there. And now they want to take and remove the Classic permanently. So that means all the clothing and everything else and everything that you paid for is going to be gone. Well, it's okay, Caesar. You don't have to be sorry about it. I understand. It's everybody has the same want and need. I do understand that. We all work up for that same point. We all work up to that same goal. No matter which way you try to do the same goal, we all work to that same point and goal in time. We all get to that same end point, that same end game. It all comes down to that same end game. So I do understand 100% where you're coming from. So it's not a big deal. Now, so I don't go off on a Second Life kick, y'all. I just wanted to bring that in there too. But also too, do remember with way you do your computer and stuff like that, you can have a decent computer to run Steam, Epic, which no, oh, that brings me. No problem, Caesar. That brings me to another light. I want to talk to you guys about this. And this is something you need to know. And I'm seriously telling you this. If you're not careful on these sites you sign up with, they're going to get into your personal information. That means your personal identity. They're going to take a hold of your personal identity. Epic is doing it. TikTok is starting to do it. That's their requirements. You got to give up every piece of information about you. There's certain places starting to do this, certain apps. They want to know all your personal information, everything. So be very cautious when you sign up with these sites that they don't try to rob you and take your personal ID and all that about you and try to sell it off to somebody else. Because that's what they're doing to make $1, is they're selling your personal identity to another company. And the reason why people get all these phone calls over their phone, these companies keep calling these, people over and over, is because companies like those selling your personal information, which is illegal as hell. And make sure you all make a point and tell them it's illegal as hell to sell your personal information. It took me 4 hours to pull Epic out of my computer. 4 hours. Caesar, they can have your bills, but you keep the money. I understand. They can pay the bills, but you keep the money. And that's the way it works. So, if you don't want your personal identity stolen, one, don't put it on your computer. Keep everything on an SD card. Let's see. Okay. I had to grab one real quick. SD card. Okay, keep one on your SD card. Keep your photos, keep your personal information all on this. Do not keep it on your computer. That's the worst mistake you can make. So I wanted to bring that up point very carefully to y'all so you understand not to do that. I've seen this done for years and people get robbed and everything else, I just don't want to see that happen again. So, if Epic doesn't like it, too bad. They shouldn't have tried to steal my personal information. They have no right to my personal information. That's the way I look at it. They might own Epic, partial of it or however, but the thing is this: your personal identification is your personal business. There's no business of Epic making games to have your name on their servers to be posted to millions of companies to make millions of dollars off of your name, and you make nothing in return. So they're making money off of your name. And this is how you look at it. They make money off of your name, and you're not getting any of it. So they're selling your information. You're not getting any thing back from it. So why are you going to allow them to do that? That's why I told myself I'm going to watch very carefully, and if I see any company wanting to sell my personal information, that would be the company that I'm going to put on my YouTube and tell everybody, don't do it. It's not worth it. Yeah, it's not going to be, these Chinese companies or whatever, they can go sell their own personal information of their own people. The problem is they ran out of people to sell the information for, so now they're coming to the American side trying to steal our information. Oh, Epic. Epic is another game. It's another game source you can play. Epic's a gaming company that they make games and stuff like that. But they did one wrong, and they should have never said that your personal information becomes their information. In a nutshell, that's basically what they told me. Is that when I read their when I read their what was it? When I read their do's and don'ts, they're telling me what they can do, but they're not telling me what they tell me what they can do, but what I can't. So basically, when you tell me I can't do this or that, and I can't restrict them away from my information, that's ridiculous. Well, Defender, what are you going to do when Second Life comes to Android? I know you probably were listening for that because they had that about 3 weeks to a month ago that they said they're working on bringing Second Life to the phone. Full version. Full version to the phone. So I'm waiting for that. And they just released that not too long ago. So you might want to wait on that one. And if you get an egg roll over there just by talking Chinese there, Caesar, guess what? Let us know. That'd be a good question. Seriously, that'd be a really good question to see who's going to be talking about that. But, we have to look at, most of our PC parts come out of China. We have to look at mostly anything we buy now these days are coming out of China. They're not making anything here in the United States anymore, and this is really bad for us because we really need that domestic part of this country. So, but it doesn't seem like that's happening anymore neither. I can tell you for the last 40 years, everything has sucked. So, no, Defender, not actually true. They did announce that they were going to bring to the cell phones a full SL version. They did state that. I'll have to. When I find that post, I'll bring it and I'll put it on a video and I'll show you that they did say that they're bringing it to the cell phones. But that'll be interesting to see your cell phone play Second Life other than your PC. They do have a program that allows you to log on to SL, but you can't move your avatar. But when it comes to the full version, they're making a full version for the phones. Because they figured if they get you on the phone, then you're going to be playing it a lot more. So now they're going to be moving it to the phone version. The only reason they took it off of the phones, and it used to be on the phones a long time ago, but I'm explaining this. It used to be on the phones a long time ago. They took it off because kids were taking Second Life to school. And they were playing Second Life at school instead of learning anything. So Linden Labs decided to say, well, we're discontinuing the phones, and, it is what it is. PC only. So they did that for many years now. And now they're coming back to the cell phones. And they're saying we now get a cell phone, we can get Second Life on it. Well, even a tablet, it's still the same thing. If you can use Wi-Fi between a tablet and your home, whatever you use, then it works. So you can use tablets, you can use phones, anything you want. You can make it portable and have fun having it portable. So do you think about it like that too? So if you want to make it portable, they do make a portable. They are working on a portable version. Just to let you know. So, but we are getting down on time, guys. I got about 5 minutes left here, 4 minutes left. So I hope y'all had fun today being here on the stream. I'm sorry I did the stream last minute. Was because I decided, I'm going to try to fit in the stream once a month. Last time I was doing the streams, I didn't have many people getting on the streams. So I discontinued the streams for a while. And now I want to try to get back on it, like on Thursdays. I'm not going to give you an exact time, but I want to try to get back on it on Thursdays. That's usually the boring day everybody has. They ain't got nothing to do. They can come out here, sit with us, and party. Right here on YouTube. And have fun, ask questions, do everything, You're welcome, Defender. You're more than welcome. Appreciate you being here. Appreciate you joining in. I appreciate you all joining in. But y'all do remember, you're welcome, Caesar. You're welcome. Glad to have you here as well. Glad to have you here. Now do remember, make sure you all tell your friends to subscribe. Now, YouTube has put 500 subscribers and 3,000 watch hours for us to get somewhat monetized. If we can get up to 500 subscribers and 3,000 watch hours, that would be beautiful. And then we keep building from there. We don't stop building. So I still want to get to the 1,000 and the 4,000. But in order for us to get some kind of monetization to where we can do more, I want to be able to get up to at least 500 subscribers and 3,000 watch hours, which I got at half of each. But if we can get up there faster, it would be appreciated. Now, if you want to share my videos, be more than happy to share the videos. YouTube's not sharing the videos. YouTube is not sharing the videos. They are not doing anything. They're just letting us linger out here. So if you want to, show the videos out to somebody and you have them come and subscribe and everything else, it would be appreciated. It would help, But YouTube's not showing our videos. They've already stated this. They're basically, if it's not good enough, it's not going to be shown. All my videos are raw, uncut, right to the point videos. So I'm not the kind of person that's going to chop up his videos into 50 million pieces just to make it look good, just to throw crap on there to make that crap look good. Okay, I'm not going to do that. That's just too much waste of time and energy just to throw, these little skits here, throw 50 million pieces of little garbage things on your screen. I'm not going to do that, guys. I'm going to do it the old-fashioned, 100% way, getting right down to the facts and getting right down to the opinions and answers, and that's it. I got a good opening, I got a good ending, and in between, you just got to watch it from beginning to end, and then you'll get to the conclusion of it all when you get to the end. So, if you want to pass the channel along to your friends, tell them to join. Like I said, that would be helpful. That would help us get monetized faster. I mean, YouTube won't let us put any stores. They won't let us do anything to, be able to, have some kind of, how can I say this? They won't let us do anything until we get to a monetization part. Because if we do, and we do anything against their rules, they'll take and they'll discontinue our channel. So I'm playing by the book. So just let you know, everybody, I'm playing by the book. Oh, it's been 3 hours and it's been fun with y'all. And if y'all got any more questions or something, don't forget, we do have, and I'm going to say, we do have a community page you can go to. We have a community page. All you got to do is go to the JJ's PC Builds homepage, go to and hit right down there where it has, as it said, for community page. It's active. You want to use that for a talking place, that's perfect place to use it. If y'all want to join together and have fun and have a talking place, that's a good open chat room for you. And it's free and it don't cost you anything. So go have fun and have a good time on the channel. Make sure y'all watch the videos from beginning to end. But anyway, I want y'all to have a great day and have a blast and be careful out there and do what you do. And thank you all, the subscribers of the channel. Thank you for being awesome and partying with us and everything else. Y'all are just the best. And the new subscribers, do remember, when you subscribe to the channel, you are helping out the channel. When you watch the videos from beginning to end, you're helping out the channel. If you want to support the channel, this is the best way to support the channel. I'm not asking anybody for cash or anything else. I'm just asking, subscribe and watch the videos from beginning to end. Simple as that. But we're going to jump out of here, everybody. Y'all have a great day. Stay safe. Until the next time, in the next video, you know who it is, JJ on JJ's PC Builds. We will see you on the next one.